Today, you are about to experience the life of a saloon girl on the American frontier. You were born beneath an endless open sky. Your fingernails always stained with soil. Your childhood filled with the scent of sun-scorched earth after long summer days. Your father was a farmer whose hands were as rough as cracked leather, his eyes forever fixed on distant fields that never seemed to reward his labor. He taught you how to read the clouds and predict the coming rain. Your mother spent her days by the stove, teaching you how to mend torn clothes and bake bread that was barely enough to fill an empty stomach. Life was difficult yet simple, honest, and entirely your own, but nature showed no mercy. The land forgot those who worked it, the rain stopped coming, and the crops withered into lifeless yellow stalks. Your father left home, promising he would find gold and return with a better future. But like so many dreamers before him, he vanished somewhere along the frontier, becoming another forgotten soul swallowed by the wilderness. Your mother's coughing echoed endlessly through the silent house until one day even that sound disappeared. Suddenly you were alone, with nothing but a worn-out dress and an unbearable hunger that never left your stomach. In a town like this, for a girl like you, only one door remained open, the one beneath the glowing red lantern. Behind that door stood a woman everyone called Madam. She never asked about your past. To her, your future was nothing more than another investment waiting to earn a profit. The place was nothing like you had imagined. From the outside it appeared elegant, and inside the soft melody of a piano drifted through the air. She gave you a beautiful new dress made from fabric softer than anything you had ever touched. She taught you to smile even when your heart was breaking, and to laugh warmly at jokes that were never funny. Soon you realized that not every man who entered was cruel. Some were simply unbearably lonely. There were farmers who still mourned their wives, young gold miners who had not spoken to a woman for months, and weary cowboys who spent their days speaking only to cattle. Madam told you that your job was simple: make them happy and keep them drinking. Every drink a man bought for you earned a small token that you tucked into your stocking. But the glass in your hand never held whiskey. It was only cold tea. It was an ingenious trick. The saloon made a fortune while you remained sober enough to count every token you earned. For a while, life almost felt like a strange game, bittersweet but somehow still winnable. You told yourself that you weren't like the girls working in the private rooms. You were a dancer in the ballroom, at least that was what everyone kept telling you. Yet the line separating you from those women was as thin as a playing card. Then one night a man with rough, weathered hands refused to dance. He wanted something more. Madam did nothing to protect you, she simply looked away. In that moment, you finally understood what the saloon had truly been selling all along. It was never just whiskey or dancing. It was a temporary cure for the crushing loneliness that haunted the frontier. Every man who entered had gambled everything chasing the dream of striking gold, only to dig up disappointment instead. Some had spent months driving cattle with no company except horses and cows. Others carried faded letters from wives and sweethearts hundreds of miles away. For just a few coins, they could buy an illusion and briefly relive the lives they had lost, or the lives they had never been fortunate enough to have. But illusions never lasted. Once the whiskey wore off, despair returned, often transformed into violence. Bottles flew past your head. Men gripped your arms so tightly they left bruises. You learned to read every expression before danger arrived. Around you, some girls saved every token, dreaming of escape just as you once had. Others had already surrendered. Their eyes were empty, their laughter hollow. They survived on small bottles of sweet, dark liquor that helped them forget everything for a few precious hours. You swore you would never touch it. Yet on certain nights, when the piano sounded more like a funeral hymn than music, temptation quietly found its way into your hands. Then one rainy evening he walked through the door. He was different from everyone else. He didn't simply want to dance, he wanted to listen. He was a ranch owner who spoke to you about the endless prairie skies, and instead of buying you another drink, he handed you a single wildflower. He promised you a way out, a marriage, and a real life beyond the saloon. Against all reason, hope returned. You ignored the cynical smiles of the other girls and convinced yourself that your story would end differently. He would save you. He simply needed to return home first, and when spring arrived, he would come back for you. Spring came and went, he never returned. That was the day you finally reached for the bottle, just once, you told yourself. But once became twice, and twice became every night. Your lingering cough grew worse with every passing month. One afternoon, Madam summoned you to her office. She didn't yell. She simply looked at your faded face and worn-out dress before quietly telling you that you were no longer pretty enough to greet customers in the main hall. She moved you to a tiny windowless room behind the saloon that she called the back room. The work remained exactly the same, but the men who came were rougher, the pay was smaller, and the loneliness somehow felt even heavier. Your silk dress was taken away and handed to a new girl whose hopeful eyes looked exactly like yours had years before. Your hands trembled as you realized you were no longer the innocent country girl who had arrived with dreams of a better life. You had become nothing more than another product hidden in the shadows. Eventually, Madame called you into her office once again. Without raising her voice, she slid a ledger across the table. At the very top was your name, followed by an endless list of debts: the cost of your new dress, room rental, every broken glass. Every advance she had ever paid you when business was slow. You suddenly realized you had never earned a single dollar. Instead, you had spent years sinking deeper into debt. Your life had never belonged to you. The tokens hidden inside your stockings had never been your path to freedom. They had always been part of the trap. The hope you once cherished had become the most expensive debt of all. Madame never controlled you with chains or contracts. She controlled you with a simple, cold ledger filled with numbers. You were never going to leave. As the years passed, you stopped counting the days. New girls continued arriving with the same bright eyes and hopeful smiles you once had. You watched them learn the rules, watched them drink cold tea disguised as whiskey, and sometimes you wanted to warn them. But what could you possibly say? The world outside was just as cruel. It simply hurt in different ways. Eventually, you grew old, becoming little more than a ghost wandering the corners of the saloon. The pianist learned new songs over the years, but the loneliness inside every melody never changed. You realized you had been born into a life you never had the chance to choose, becoming just another ornament in a town that both depended on you and quietly destroyed you. As you watched another young girl nervously laugh at a prospector's terrible joke, hoping for a brighter future, you finally understood the most terrifying truth of all. What had trapped you was never simply a job, it was an endless cycle. And that cycle had only just begun once again.